Indian food in all its diversity may lie in traditions that trace back centuries, but it's taken the last decade or less for a new language to emerge. Desi Khana is being reinvented, revamped, and hustled straight into the 21st century. The movement owes much to culinary giants like Manish Mehrotra of Indian Accent in Delhi, to what Floyd Cardoz did at Tabla in New York, to Atal Kochar of Benares, to Gagan Anand of Gagans in Bangkok. They were the first guard, experimenting with techniques, playing with flavors, influences, and the regions they came from. And while they have paved the way for the growing movement we have come to enjoy today, if there was one obstacle with modern Indian food's first wave, it was that it stayed largely confined to fine dining spaces. Now it's not. The boom has taken off, and Desi Khana and all its mind-boggling variety is now accessible to all kinds of audiences. Take the newly arrived in Mumbai Monkey Bar, whose original Bangalore outpost was actually well ahead of its time. And now that both Mumbai and Delhi can enjoy Chef Manu Chandra's particular brand of quirky gastropub cuisine, it looks as though they can't get enough.
We were quite certain that we wanted to create a new vertical. Thought that there was definitely a very large gap in the market, because either you had like really high-end stuff or you had entry-level stuff, but there was very little which was connecting with what was possibly the largest demographic. And that's when the sort of genesis of an idea of doing a gastropub which would have the buzz but would also focus on food came about. Pretty much brought the genre into the lexicon because it didn't exist, and Monkey Bar was born, and it was an experiment that worked. So.
More than, the place itself is full of colour, full of humour, and more often than not a crowd that just won't quit. But it's in the menu that the adventure really lies. And while there are nods to more standard bar fare, it is the exhaustive presence of random regional dishes that makes eating here so exciting.
With Monkey Bar, I think we were just trying to put forward a fairly qualitative offering, affordable, and rely on as much local as was possible. And of course, when I started experimenting and doing the menu planning for it, I just said I want stuff that I want to eat when I go out on the menu. And it doesn't have to be cuisine specific, it just needs to be nice and tasty. And I realized that I had some great recipes from home. I had some great recipes I got off other people, and they would all just fit seamlessly into a menu like this. And I think the eccentricity of it is what excited people more than anything else.
He's not wrong. They're clever, accessible dishes from sundry corners around the country, which is why I guess I get to begin with something I didn't expect. They call it Auntie Pereira's Sorpatel Pickle Pot. Yes, Goan Sorpatel served with sass and style. There's plenty about, the authenticity of flavors from corners of India that I do not know, right? Sorpatel, I do know. Sorpatel, I know very, very well. My family prides itself in its Sorpatel. So when I tell you that this is the real deal, believe me, it is.
Sorpatel is a Sorpatel is a Sorpatel. So you'll have everyone saying that your version isn't as good as my mother's, and I can live with that because you live with that anyway when you're in the business. Well, I got a very good recipe from somebody, and I actually went tasted it. I saw them make it, and this is the real deal, right? With liver, blood, everything. Me, a good Sorpatel is only ready to eat when it's been sitting for 5 days, and not straight out of the pot, because the flavors just get better and better and better, and that's why we do this little pickle version of it. It's little things like this work extremely well for us. So you'd notice that a lot of our menu is small plates, and whilst there's this huge debate sort of raging in the West saying that the small plates trend is over, I beg to differ, especially in a country where everybody wants to share everything all the time.
Who can blame them when it involves the equally effective, equally authentic Goa sausage chorizo pao? The sausage shines, it's not swamped in other things, enhanced with others. It's just really good chorizo on really good pao. Then there's the Bengali mocha gonto chop with its filling of banana blossoms. It's not just delicious, it turns out it's actually perfect bar food, a leap that many wouldn't have made. And lest we forget, they were doing it way back when. You come here, you find yourself eating all of this, and your associations with this food would always be, sort of grander, heavier, more intense meals, a specific type of meal. And you sit down here and you discover how beautifully it goes with, a pint or a drink or a cocktail or just a snack on the go, or just a comfortable, easy, relaxed meal. This is the fun.
was innovation at every level, yet it was tasty.
Yeah.
And that for me is always been an underlying philosophy. Once in a while a unique thing is good, but sometimes you need to sort of, settle in and want to come back for that over and over again.
Yes.
And novelty wears off very quickly. And that's why I try to strike a balance on my menus which have wholesomeness, which have integrity, and that's what it is. It's
Changing the terms under which food like this is eaten also, right?
complete. I think we've also, as a company, been able to package things really well.
Yeah.
And if I had just done a regular something bhavan with regular chairs and tables, etc., and done outstanding food there, yes, there would have been people, but it would not have had the same impact. It wouldn't have reached out as much.
And that reach is vital. Would you like to miss out on the dramatically served gulati kebab served with its thin saffron paratha? What better way after all to eat off an excess pint? Well, perhaps I have another one. The pandi curry. Yes, that Kurg staple, the pork pandi curry, makes its way to Mumbai. It's served here with gleaming buttery pita bread and it's perfect. Revamped a little sure, but packed full of punch.
Pandi curry is very good. Our kachampuli comes from Kurg, of course, that's where it's made largely. I think what we have done is, and my God, I'm going to sound terribly sacrilegious if I say this, but we've almost Brahmanized it a little. So we add a little fresh coriander paste to it, which is not classically part of the recipe. It does lend it a little bit of that green flavor. It gives it a little more freshness, so it cuts through the fattiness of the pork.
For the very fact that I'm getting pandi curry in my neighborhood, I cannot tell you how exciting it is for me. I had to travel, I waited more years than I choose to count to actually travel there to try it for the first time, and now within a year of my first trip to Kurg, it is available 10 minutes away from me and it is spectacular. It's delightful also to see a nod to the northeast that goes beyond momos. The Naga Chilli pork belly noodle bowl utilizes both the famous booth cholakia and bamboo shoot, and it's terrific. As are, it must be said, the lal mas phulkas. They're juicy and they're potent. This is a menu packed with affection and yes, with humor too. Along with the Aam Aadmi eggs, I believe there's a Shazi Imli.
Yeah, I'm politically neutral. So it's nice to be a little irreverent sometimes. Yeah. It's nice to poke fun once in a while, but
love it.
And we're not mocking anyone. It's just fun, and it resonates with a lot of people, and they smile.
As they should. It's a cross-country tour without having to move. Take their dal pakwan crostini. Yes, the Sindhi staple gets a simple but very effective makeover. And yes, Chef Manu believes absolutely that here in riffs like this is where the future lies. There are various sort of narratives that, we in the media tend to build, right, around Indian food. But do you feel like we're actually on the cusp of that it needs...
We are. We most certainly are. And it's exciting. And it's exciting to be in a space where you can possibly be part of that sort of change and that switch over. And I think it was a long time coming. Yeah. And interestingly, even though there's all these international brands that are coming into the market right now, I think the next big story is going to be out of here. It's going to come from it. As I finish off with the rasmalai panna cotta, a dish I didn't even know existed, I am sincerely inclined to agree. I guess the only thing left to ask is, what's next? This. MOBA has already more than played its part. And happily, this is a trend that has expanded to the capital too. You see, right opposite Delhi's Purana Killa sits the Crafts Museum. And inside the Crafts Museum sits a relaxed open restaurant that has had the capital's connoisseurs hopping in for a while now. The chef behind it, Rahul Dua, aims to keep it simple while also keeping it very smart indeed.
The restaurant actually is the vision of the chairperson of the museum, Mrs. Ruchira Ghosh, who kind of wanted a cafe in a museum that was a break away from the typical chola bhatura chow mein canteens that you see in government institutions, usually something that celebrates the craft of Indian cooking and that showcases Indian cooking in a new light, which obviously directly related to regional Indian food.
True to that, we start our travels in Punjab with the sarson ka saag soup served with a light, airy makki ki roti. The soup is bright green with goodness, rich and hearty in home style because best of all, neither this nor much else here relies on excess fat for excess flavor. What makes the food here exciting is that it's simple, it is ambitious in all the right ways. It is chosen to rely not on fat for all its flavor. It is home style food. Not everything is laced with, the good stuff. It is clean, controlled, honest, just wonderful food.
The idea was also to have food that people can eat every day. I mean, you can't eat a Mughlai meal every day of the week. So the idea was to kind of just cook food like it's cooked at home. Right. We just try to scale it up a little bit. But the cooks and me, we're still very sort of budding home cooks that have chosen to take a direction a little more different. So our mentality is still there. We don't know the rules of running a commercial kitchen, so we're making them up as we go along. And I guess that's where the difference comes in.
It's working. Take the beetroot cutlet from Bengal. It's again seemingly simple but moist and tasty, topped with a dollop of cream cheese dip. The Sabudana Popcorn is a riff on Maharashtra's beloved Sabudana vadas. They're served small with a delightfully lethal green chili thecha on the side. And don't even get me started on the palak patta chaat. That it's plated beautifully is no surprise. That it is in fact an amalgamation, I guess, isn't one either.
It's a mix of chaat cultures from 3 or 4 cities in India. So the Sev and the Anar is very Bombay. The palak chaat itself is has Awadhi, Lucknowi roots. And the curd is done in a very Delhi style, and the chutney is more like an Indian chutney.
But my favorite had to be this, a ragi appam, bright red and beautiful, served with a Kerala mutton fry, one that's everything you want a mutton fry to be, laden with coconut and bright with spice.
We didn't have any sort of South Indian cook to help us through it, so we just started testing it in the kitchen ourselves. And there was ragi atta kept for the rotis, so we just kind of, as a fun experiment, tried a ragi appam. And it turned out to be more delicious than the rice appam, so we were like, why not?
And as with many places, the fun doesn't end with the appetizers. There's a riff on fish in lemon butter and garlic, a spice-studded garlic-topped pan-fried with malai fillet, served with old-school lemon rice and a very effective chana salad on the side. Then there is a platter inspired by the kitchens of Uttarakhand that is both a first for me and a feast. The bhat, a delectable dal made of an indigenous black bean, the potatoes laden with spice, the raita flavored with mustard, and best of all, a chutney made of hemp, or to the uninitiated, bhang. And it's as addictive as its source would suggest. I literally couldn't stop eating. There's a sort of sincerity of intent that comes through with the menu, with the cooking. It's such honest food. It's such... there's such affection for it. There's such a sense of celebration of, the great diversity that we all enjoy. And yet in this sweet, controlled, very specific way. I have to say this has been a very, very, very exciting meal.
If we can kind of bring this bhat into the spotlight and then you start calling for it and start cooking it at home, that kind of increases the profile and it comes into sort of mass acceptance and hence kind of saves it from being extinct. So many things. I mean, this is just the surface. I mean, every sub-region, every little village will have sort of recipes. So like we're trying to preserve everything else when it comes to culture, I think food is such an integral part of culture that it needs to be a full-time effort.
Agreed entirely, and so it's fitting that we get to end with the bhappa doi cheesecake. Thick and creamy, and the apple jalebis, fritters fried in actual jalebi batter. Yup, you let that soak in and join me in a break. More, as always, on the other side.